A troubling situation in Ohio. 4 churches have burned to the ground, 3 of them in just the past few months. Investigators believe the fires are intentional and connected, and it comes as churches nationwide face a growing trend in violence. National security correspondent Caitlin Burke has this story.
The string of rural Ohio church fires have left parishioners and investigators with many questions and few answers.
We haven't had, a graffiti situation. We haven't had anything left at the scene that would say that there's hatred towards the church or hatred towards God. We don't have any of those factors.
Still, Chief Josh Hobbs with the Ohio State Fire Marshal's office tells CBN News they're now confident these are all acts of arson and likely committed by the same person or group of people.
So a couple of these churches perhaps were unoccupied at the time of the fire and had no electric service. So we knew there was a human act involved. And then when you have other fires in that area, you start putting 2 and 2 together, and you have a pattern.
The first happened at Coquine Enterprise Baptist in April of 2022. Then nothing for 2 years until May, July, and August of this year, with 3 more churches set on fire, all in close proximity to the first.
The timing and the geography of these fires, the type of churches, all of those things, they're all very similar in appearance, very similar in nature, where they're at, the desolate nature of the churches. When you look at the map, although it's kind of in the middle of nowhere, they almost make a little triangle.
Churches in America are experiencing record levels of violence and hostility. A Family Research Council report showing incidents have more than doubled since 2022, with a majority reported as vandalism or arson. Chief Hobbs says with such a high threat level, awareness of what's happening around your building is key.
Now, in 2024, the ability to have some surveillance, some sort of surveillance equipment is, whether it's just a ring type camera, you don't have to have it. So if you had something on the front and the back, you'd be amazed what they catch.
The Ohio State Fire Marshal's office is committed to solving this case, telling CBN News that until the suspect or suspects are apprehended, there's always a risk they could not only strike again, but escalate their attacks.
Are they going to start getting brazen? So that's the concern. Is they got to get brazen, or are they going to get burnt out on churches, no pun intended, and move on to something more significant? Or are they going to escalate away from fire?
Thanks to tips from the public, Ohio Fire Marshal investigators are looking into another church fire from this year just across the river in Kentucky. A $10,000 reward is being offered for information leading to the identification and arrest of those responsible for these fires. And Chief Hobbs says a member of the public has added another $5,000 to that offer. If you have any information, you can find the Ohio State Fire Marshal tip line in our story on cbnnews.com. Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Washington.
Again, that's 4 churches burned to the ground, 3 of them in just the past few months. Troubling indeed. Andrew?
Yes, Ephraim. Unfortunately for churches in this nation, obtaining and implementing surveillance cameras and arranging proper security is just as much a responsibility every week and every day as sermon prep and arranging a worship team and having smiling faces at the door, especially for the protection of children and hopefully seminaries. These institutions training men and women for leadership in ministry can begin to find a curriculum to implement precautions and how to prepare holistically for ministry, not just sermon prep and worship, but how to protect the flock.